Hello, let's take a look at the program that we could use for the forklift. So first we have to, after getting Scratch up, is get our more blocks, add an extension, go to Lego WeDo, double click on everything, and now we have all the instructions that we require for our motors and our sensors. Now we know that we will have the forklift lift and lower the pallet, and also it will have to have an instruction to stop it. So we know we're going to have 3 control operations, but first, while we're on this screen here, it's convenient just to take your variable that you're going to be using, which is tilt, and actually make a copy of it. We're also going to need to have turn motor on for so much time and motor off. So we'll have to turn the motor on, and we also need motor direction. So we need at least these instructions for our forklift program. Let's go to the control. We'll drag an if then else, or if then loop, and we will have to have an operator, which is the equals operator, which we will use to compare the value of the tilt sensor to some number. If we recall, the tilt sensor goes backwards, forwards, left and right, and left and right are probably odd numbers, and forward and backward are probably even numbers, but you can always check this when you run your program. So we'll assume that a 0 is when the tilt is even, and that should be the case. So I'll put if tilt equals 0. We'll drag the operator, and if you recall, operators are essentially arithmetic, logical, and comparison operations. That's why they're called operators. So addition, for instance, is an operator. The addition symbol is an operator. It operates on 2 numbers. And that's the basic definition of operators. So we have if tilt equals 0, then we know that we'll have to turn the motor off. Now here's a really neat feature. You can duplicate whatever you create or write. So I go duplicate. I know I'll have to have 3 of these, and one will be for when the tilt sensor equals 2. The other one is for when tilt sensor equals 4. Now we don't want to turn the motor off. We want to actually, so let's get rid of those. We'll turn the motor on, and also we have to check the direction. So let's go, actually we'll duplicate that instruction, duplicate this instruction. So we set the direction up or down. We don't know right now which way it is, but you can also determine this experimentally. Turn the motor on for, I don't know, 4 seconds. Again, you'll see this when you do this, how much is required. Normally it takes less time to go down because the motor is not working against gravity. Gravity is assisting it, so you don't need as much time to lower the forklift as you do to raise it. Now, if you just want to check how this works in a direction way, so for instance, you can hook up your forklift to the computer, and you can just click on this loop like that, and you see how the aura, I call it the aura, flashes around the instructions. So they've run once. So if you actually had moved the tilt sensor, then it would execute whatever instruction is activated by the tilt equals 2. For instance, this would be activated, or by 4. So whatever angle that you've set the tilt sensor to, whichever one is 2 or 4 will activate these motor direction and these motor instructions. So you'll know whether this way lifts it up or that way lifts it up. So you can always check that by clicking on the instructions just once. Okay, now we want to keep repeating this, so we will go back to control instructions. We have a forever loop. Okay, so this will keep repeating forever, and you can operate the forklift. How do you begin this? So you'll go to events. Events are things that happen. For instance, here we can have an event which is a space key. So the space bar of your keyboard is pressed and it will start this program. So for instance, I'm going to press my space key now, and the program runs. You see the aura is always on because this is a forever loop. It doesn't stop. If I press the stop sign, then it stops and the program no longer runs. So you always can check the stop sign for it to stop. You have a cat here, and you can actually move this cat up and down or whichever direction you want in response to these instructions. Now I don't like the cat, so I'm going to try and find a new sprite. So I'll go to new sprite. I click the symbol right next to the cat, and I'll select, let's say, flying, and I think I'll choose the dragon. So, and I'll say OK or double click on it, and I get the dragon. And you didn't see it because the recording window was outside the area where the dragon was shown. So I have a dragon sprite, and notice there's nothing in the program area, and notice that the dragon is selected underneath the stage. So if I click on the cat sprite, here's my program. So I can actually take this program and move it to the dragon, because this program only controls the movement of the cat if I put in motion instructions. So I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to drag the duplicate over to the dragon sprite, and I just click on it, and voila, there is the program for the dragon. I want to get rid of the cat, so I'll click on it, I'll right click on the cat, and I'll delete it. I no longer have a cat. So here I have a dragon. I'll position him down here, and suppose I want him to go up when the forklift goes up, and I want him to go down when the forklift goes down. So let's look at the motion instructions. So here I have motion. Let's assume that when tilt equals 2, that's the up direction. So I can always, you can add comments as well. Well, there's my up comment, and make it small. Then I go to this one, add a comment, and so this is a good way to keep track of what these loops mean. Click on there, and I have down. And you can also write descriptions, but here is the first line, which tells you the main information required for that instruction. So up, down, and this one of course would be stop, because that would stop the motor. And the tilt sensor is level. Let's look at the dragon. We want to go up in the Y direction. The left to right is X, up and down is Y direction. So I'll go down to the Y, and I will put the change Y by 10, and let's say, I know that's not very much, so I'll change it by, let's say 50, and that will move the dragon up. Then I can go to the down and change that to minus 50, and the dragon should come back. So your dragon's going to go up and down according to the whichever instruction which is executed, whether it's tilt equals 2, that loop, if that if selection. We call this if then. So if tilt equals 2, then do these instructions, and notice how it's being hugged by that orange bars around it. And same thing with the other ones. If equals 4, then you do these instructions, and then you just keep repeating forever. So you can test this, and as you move your forklift arms up and down, the dragon will move up and down with you. Now the other interesting thing, which is kind of fun, is you can also go to costumes. So if you click costumes, you'll see that the dragon actually has two images, one with breathing fire and one with just the ordinary dragon. So you can actually go back and forth between these two. So let's go back to our script, and what I will do is I'll go to looks, and I'll select next costume, and then I'll put that here. So what's going to happen is when he goes up, he won't be breathing fire. When he goes down, he will be breathing fire. So that's kind of a cute way of adding some animation to your stage. How do we check it without running the actual robot? Well, let's check what happens when we just have an operator. So I'm going to drag an operator that equates operator, and I will select, go back to my blocks, I'll get the tilt, and I'll just put in a number here, and I'll click on this operator and see what the program does. So I'm going to say tilt is, this actually says, does tilt equal 2? If I click on it, it runs it, and it says it's false. So the tilt variable is not equal to. If I change that to 0 and click on it, it says, wow, it's true. So right away we know that when we first start the program, the tilt sensor and of course the distance sensor values are 0. So if I change all these to is tilt equal 0, this one will use this to see whether the dragon goes up and down. And I'll have another change costume, so I duplicate that instruction. Oops, I duplicated both. Actually stay there, for a while it'll go, and I'll put the next change costume here. So it'll go back and forth. So let's try spacebar again. and watch the dragon. Up, down, up, down. That's just fine. Okay, so now your forklift, when it goes up, the dragon goes up and breathes fire. When the forklift arm goes down, the dragon goes back down. So I hope this helps and you can start programming in Scratch and see how your forklift works. Thank you.